What I don't like seeing is a business owner betting their entire retirement or just sense of financial security and independence on the sale. Now, sometimes that works, right? And I think we can all think of examples where that works. Um, I think that's probably a pretty low percentage of business owners. I think most businesses don't sell or don't sell for what you think they're going to be. It's some just kind of internal transition or whatnot. Um, and obviously, like, this is a lot of the work that you help people with, Ryan, is making sure that you are building something that is saleable, and on the terms and timeline that you as a business owner want. Um, so once again, what I don't like seeing is I want to sell this thing within a year. By the way, I don't have any other savings. I've got some debt, and I don't have a valuation yet, but I think it's worth X. you know, and it's like, well, where'd that number come from? And even when people get a valuation, I'm kind of like, well, is that some sort of discounted cash flow or multiple of revenue that you got from? I don't like. We can all make numbers work. Or those actual offers that are on the table, or actual offers that you saw for like a similar type of
Yeah,
firm.
and there's a
So
few
like,
ways to
I mean, I always think it's
oh,
like, if you're going to do this, if you're going to be serious about this, I think 3+ years to exit is when you want to be doing this work.
yeah, and I think there's a few ways to think about this. As you mentioned, you're talking about the valuation. I advise owners to go to an SBA bank and just see what the SBA would lend on it. Because if you're doing an SBA sized deal, most buyers are going to go that route anyways. So it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter the value of the business. It just doesn't matter because the SBA is going to say, this is what we're going to pay you. And so if that's your
Yeah.
largest buyer pool for your kind of business, then you got to understand what the SBA will even lend on it. And so, to your point, I've had multiple conversations with owners and, in their 60s, maybe 70s, and they're ready to retire. They're looking for that big payday. They didn't financially save the right amount to retire without selling. They thought they were going to sell, and then they needed millions more, or hundreds of thousands more, but probably millions more. I'm trying to remember all the conversations. But anyways, they need a lot more than they were going to get, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's the worst call to have, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they're tired, maybe they're sick, they're older, and so they're ready to go on, and
Mm-hmm.
they wanted like $3 million or whatever it might be, or $10 million or whatever it is, and it's worth a million maybe. Like, because sometimes it sounds crazy to say this, but I had an owner last year who wanted $7 million, and the business is worth two. It's like you're five
Right.
million off. He's
Right.
like, well, it's a big city. There's a lot. Like, yeah, that's cool, but people aren't paying for
Right.
that. Like that's not how it works. And so, to your point, I think you got to plan. Depends on where you're at, of course, but the 3 year kind of mindset. And I think a lot of people are kind of hesitant, going, "Oh, you just want my money. You just want to suck this from me." It's like, no, no, no. In the M&A game, as I stress over and over again, there's millions of dollars on the line here. Like, this is a big boy game. Like, this is where real dollars and cents are moved. This is not a $10 widget or a 50 cent Coke. This is a real game. And so, if you think about it like that, you want to prepare the best you can, or you're going to lose hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, depending on how big your company really is.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about selling a business, or frankly just the profit distributions from a business, there's just so much leverage. And obviously, the bigger the business, the more inherent leverage of you move a percentage point this way or that, and the cash flows magnify that, right? You move a multiple from, okay, now you've got better financials in place, or better financial controls. So we moved your multiple from, I don't know, 4x EBITDA to 5x or whatever. It's like, that's a massive valuation change. And if you got to pay for some support to get there, for example, maybe hiring a great fractional CFO, uh, you know, feels worth it to me. Feels worth it to me. And not to mention, you've also de-risked yourself in the
Yeah,
process. So,
yeah, because
I
if your
mean,
business,
to your point, you were kind of talking about like years to succession. So I just turned 40, right? And I own a professional services firm. And my rule of thumb is, if you want an internal succession for professional services, you kind of want to start thinking about that at least 10 or 20 years in advance. Problem is, most people get to 60 and they've never ever thought about it, let alone bringing someone on staff that would be like an internal succession. And so I kind of had this oh crap moment of like, oh, I entered the next stage of my business. if I'm going to eat my own cooking here, I got to start thinking about my succession. Now I feel like I'm 20 years away from that, right? Uh, but I got to take it seriously, because I might bring someone on and they're not the right fit, or like they're not partner quality or whatever that is. Or we might get 5 years down the line and they jump ship to somewhere else. And so it's like, I got to start now so that almost by 50, it's baked in, right? It just kind of happens on autopilot at that point. And I just think that, there's some great books. One I think is called Begin with the Exit in Mind. I can't remember who wrote that, but it's coming to my brain right now.
Yeah.
Um,
I got to stack them over here as well. I'm looking at. I'm
yeah,
like, yeah.
stack maybe, yeah,
Well, the other day I was on the call and I mentioned the 90-day mentality, and you go, "Didn't
for
so and so
sure,
write
yeah.
that? Snyder, is
But
that
it
who
goes
it
back to
was?"
the idea of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
every year you're thinking about your exit every year, and
yeah,
it doesn't mean you're going to sell. It just means that that's part of the conversation. You want a
yeah,
business that can sell. That's a good business, and you don't have to, but you want it so it can sell.
yeah, yeah. And so, why do you think most owners wait too long to have this conversation?
I think it's going to vary for each individual. I think a lot of it is because we as owners are in the weeds of our own business. We're in the day to day. We're like doing the business, and it's really hard to find the time to step out and think about this as a whole and where you're going. That's why like a EOS system or traction or whatever can be so helpful, is because you start stepping out of the day to day basically, and thinking in terms of values, goals, where you want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, like that. And then how do you make decisions? Like what needs to happen for that? Um, a lot of it is, and then the other thing is like when you're in the weeds, that's comfortable. So like we're comfortable there, right? And we as business owners, we get comfortable in our own businesses, and we love it. Like I get to work some days like a Monday morning, and I'm just like, oh, thank God I'm here. It's great. Love my
Right.
family, love the weekends. So happy to be at work today.
Yeah.
And I might do what I call playing office a little bit, just because I like
Mm-hmm.
it here, doing not meaningful work, or the work that someone else in my team might do, but I just like it. Um, but if you kind of force me to think big picture, now I got to, take some humility, right? And you got to make me uncomfortable. And I got to take time for that. I'm busy. Force me to have all these conversations and think about these things or whatever. Make really hard decisions. I might have to let go of someone or hire someone at a very exorbitant cost, or like you said, pay for some support, whatever it is. None of that is fun, right? It's just not fun. I think that's like it's a humbling process to go through this.